Hey guys, it's Ben the Coin Geek at Old Pueblo Coin, and today I have the roundup for the summary of the PCGS members only show at the Bellagio. But first, before we get there, I want to say, hey, this is the last week to send us your Coins for Kids stuff. So what you do is you send us some prepackaged envelopes for your kids, nephew, nieces, whoever, and we will send them coins. Put a stamp on it, put their name on it, and we'll send them some stuff. All right, so you got this week to do that, and then that's it. Christmas will be upon us before we know it. So I did the PCGS members only show this week at the Bellagio, and it was my first time doing this show. And there's lots of things about it that were interesting to talk about and conceptualize. But first, I want to make sure that I say thanks to everyone who stopped by. I'm not going to have everyone's name because I just didn't write everything down. But Carl, Walter, Anthony, Larry, Ben, Nick, John, Jim, Luke, Tony, Anthony, let's see here, Paul and Kyle, Tony and Jackie. I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff going on, and it was good. It was good to meet everyone. And let's talk about the hotel first because I'm a troglodyte, and I didn't know what the Bellagio was. So apparently the Bellagio is a hotel in Las Vegas that happens to have like all of the most expensive things you can want, right? So within the hotel, there's a Louis Vuitton and Chanel and Rolex and Omega and some other store I've never heard of that starts with a V, where the room was smaller than my business is in here, and it had a red rope, the kind that like you'd see at the theater, the red rope hanging, and like one guy was in there with two people waiting on him, and they were wearing gloves to like handle the merchandise. That's the Bellagio. So there you go. Also, so at the Bellagio, if they have like the food in the hotel room and the mini bar, none of that's free. But the funny thing is, it's all in a sensor. Troglodyte, watch out. So I picked up the food and I looked to see what it is. It's like just in a box. It's like whatever, walnuts. And I put it back down. And later there's a room charge, and I'm like, what is this room charge? It's like, well, you can't. I'm like, okay. They fixed it, but all right. So the show itself is different because it's run by PCGS for PCGS members, and hats off to all the crew at PCGS, the people who worked in travel, the people who worked the front desk, the people who are helping take inventory in. Those people were very wonderful. I mean, they're just nice people, good to deal with, and very helpful. And hats off. They run a great show. And it's different, though, because to get into the show, you have to be a PCGS member. So, of course, a member dealer, but also any of you can be a member. You just go and pay them whatever their fee is. And they give you submissions that kind of counterbalance the cost of the fee. So if you already have coins to submit, you can always join PCGS and go through that way. But it was interesting because it's capped at, I think, 30 or 35 dealers. It's not a huge room. There's food the entire time. I mean, breakfast, lunch, and then there's like a dessert later in the afternoon. And they keep rolling it out. And I can understand why dealers like going to it, but also members, there were people there that are collectors who were there for at least 2 days, some for 3 days, and they were just hanging out and talking coins. It's a very relaxed atmosphere, and it is not the type of show that I've ever been to. I mean, most shows, it's really dependent upon the public and how many guys are going to show up, what's it going to look like. And this show was not really like that, although everyone told me that this was the best attended show that they've seen for a members only show. I mean, dealers told me that. The people working the front counter at PCGS, when I spoke with them, told me that. And so that was very interesting. The show is not only ultra high-end coins, but if you want to see some really expensive coins, it's a great place to be. I saw at least a half a dozen to a dozen high reliefs, not all on display. Some people had boxes of stuff that they brought out, and I looked at the high reliefs, the 1907 $20 gold piece. That's really expensive. But there's all kinds of crazy stuff, proof $3 gold pieces. I mean, kid in the candy store stuff. So the biggest barrier, of course, is that it's Vegas. Now, there's plenty of places to stay in Vegas that are not the Bellagio. Which I probably would have stayed at something that had a bird emblem across the street had I known. But anyway, the show itself, it's interesting. There's also people there. Like I had plenty of inventory that was $100 to $500 type items. And also there were some other dealers there who really had a lot of stuff that's not that expensive. So it wasn't only the high-end guys, but there were plenty of high-end guys there. Also, outside of the 30 or 35 dealers that set up, a lot of the guys that showed up at the show, a lot of the people that showed up at the show showed up just to walk the show. In other words, they showed up either just on Wednesday or just on Thursday. I wasn't even there Tuesday for the setup. So, I got there Tuesday with 15 minutes to spare so I could pack my stuff in. Thanks Enterprise. So, but the other days, there's especially Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday, there were a lot of other dealers walking the floor also. So all in all, there's plenty of activity, even though it's not a hugely crowded show. I'll say that there's also a Legend Market auctions. There was an auction, Regency auction, there, and you could just, if you're in the room, you can come and preview the coins. I think there's about 400 coins in the auction, so it wasn't huge, but they had some really amazing stuff in there. The 1795 half diamond MS65 or 66 with blue toning, and I didn't see what it sold for. The auction's on Thursday evening. So, and then it's interesting because Friday the show's supposed to go, I think, till 6. A lot of the guys were gone by noon. I was still there till about 2 or 3. And it was interesting. It was fun. There was a lot of connections to make. I don't know that I made money per se. I didn't give it to the casino, trust me. I actually didn't spend any money at the casino. You'll be happy to know. So, but it was worth going as an experience, and it's worth going just to spend time with collectors and dealers who are very passionate about what they do. And I would recommend going sometime to one of their shows. They put it on several times a year. Of course, you have to be a member of PCGS to do it. But a lot of you already are. And if you're not, you can just sign up when you go to the show. I think they have one in February. I think it'll be at the MGM. But you can of course check out PCGS's website for that. And as far as the overall market's concerned, things still seem pretty strong to me. I mean, there's obviously areas of the market that have pulled back from where they were, but high-end, better-date coins are still selling at strong prices. One more thing I have to mention is that youth will be served. I mean, I saw some guys that came by that had some pretty impressive coins, and they're basically vest pocket dealers that have nicer inventory than me, and they're 17, so, and that's not exactly an exaggeration. So, it's really interesting to see that. There's some really neat kids coming up in the hobby. And if you're curious about all that stuff, there's a guy named Seth Chandler out of Whittier, California, in San Francisco, which a lot of you already know who he is. If you don't know who he is, he and I did a live stream right in the middle of the show. So it's Thursday midday. I go to stretch my legs. I walk around. I get to Seth's table, and he's like, "Let's go. All right, good. Let's go. What are we gonna do? Let's do it. Let's do this. Come on, let's go. What are we gonna do? Let's go. Let's do a live stream. Come on. Come on, we do something. When do we do it? Can we do it? Can we do it now? What about now? We can do it now? Come on." So that's Seth, and if you watch the live stream, you'll know that's Seth because that's how he talks, and he's fantastic. He's just a ball of energy, and if you go on his Instagram page, you can see all of these, a lot of these young kids, because he does an entire university where he gets 20 or 30 kids together, maybe it was 40 this year, up in San Francisco at his place, and they do seminars of their own kind. It's like their own little YN thing, the young numismatist thing that they're putting together. And it's interesting, and it's fun, and I think Seth and I will probably do some type of something together at the March A&A. I don't know what that is yet. It's still like ruminating up here. Sometimes it takes a little while for a troglodyte to think of things. So, anyways, I would recommend going to the show one time and see. It's very different than any other show you've been to. By the way, the food's not just for the dealers. If you're there and you've got your membership, be our guest. That's what's going on, which I love. That's, for those of you who know me, that's kind of a thing for me. I like people come in here. Francis is always offering them food, so it's a regular thing for us. So I enjoy that. I think it's a nice way to do things. All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Ben, the Coin Geek. You can subscribe by clicking on the owl button in the corner and watch more videos on the right side of the screen. Thanks.